My beloved child, today I look upon you with the eyes of the one who has been with you through every season in which you thought you had to endure everything alone. I saw the nights when you stayed silent to hide your sobs. The days when you smiled while inside you felt like a cold room. The times when you gave with your whole heart yet received only uncertainty, absence, and weariness in return. I saw you trying to become more lovable, more agreeable, less demanding, smaller, just so someone would not leave. But my child, I did not create you to live as a soul forever asking permission to be loved. I did not place my breath within you so that you would shrink before those who do not know how to honor the life I have placed inside you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. Let those words sink deeply into your heart, because before anyone ever chose you or left you, I had already called you my own. There were seasons when you thought you had been left behind, but in truth, I was keeping you from chasing after things that could only break you further. There were delays you once saw as loss, but in my hands, they became time for your soul to be rewritten. I did not merely wipe away your tears, I touched the very source from which those tears were born. I did not merely comfort you in your fear of abandonment. I am uprooting the false belief that you must overextend yourself in order to be worthy of someone staying. While not only healing the wounds caused by others, I am also teaching you to look at yourself again through my mercy, so that you will no longer condemn yourself for having loved out of emptiness, waited in desperation, and held on to things that did not have the strength to uphold you. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. I was near to you in the places you thought were the end, and it was there that I began rebuilding steadiness within you. Now, you must hear me clearly. The relationships that are about to enter your life must not be built on the foundation of fear, nor should they be fed by the lack within your heart. You no longer enter love like someone so starved that you will accept any crumb offered to you. You no longer enter friendship, attachment, or companionship with the mindset that you must trade your peace in order to be close to someone. I am placing within you a new standard, not so that you will become harsh, proud, or closed off, but so that you will know how to protect the life I have restored. My standard is not like the standard of the world. The world often teaches people to seek one another in order to fill emptiness, soothe loneliness, prove worth, possess, and control. But in my kingdom, a blessed relationship does not drain two souls dry. It helps both draw nearer to the light, becoming more truthful, freer, and more tender before my presence. Therefore, I place before you three pillars that must not be broken: respect, protection, and freedom from control. Respect is not merely polite words on the outside, but the way someone recognizes the dignity I have placed within you. A person who respects you will not diminish your voice, will not treat your feelings as a burden, will not use silence as punishment, and will not force you to constantly doubt yourself in order to keep them from leaving. Protection does not mean possession. Protection means creating a space where your soul does not always have to be on guard. One who carries my mark will not take advantage of your tenderness in order to manipulate you, but will know how to guard trust as something sacred. And freedom from control means that you do not have to lose yourself in order to be loved. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:17. If a relationship makes you increasingly afraid, increasingly small, and increasingly distant from the truth within your own heart, then you must have the courage to bring it into the light. My beloved child, true love does not force you to live in constant tension. True love may correct, may face the truth, and may pass through difficult conversations. but it does not make control its foundation. It does not make you guess another person's every mood in order to avoid being treated coldly. It does not make you apologize for the rightful needs of your soul. It does not require you to abandon my calling in order to fit into someone else's mold. Let all that you do be done in love, 1 Corinthians 16:14, is not merely a beautiful decorative phrase, it is the holy structure for everything I allow to grow in your life. Anything that cannot be carried out in love should not be called love. Anything that needs manipulation in order to survive does not come from my life. Remember Ruth and Boaz. For that story speaks not only of redemption, but also of dignity protected in the right way. Ruth was a woman who had suffered much loss, who left her homeland and stepped into an unfamiliar field with poor hands and an uncertain future. But when I led her to the field of Boaz, she was not exploited in her vulnerability. Boaz saw her faithfulness, spoke to her with respect, protected her from danger, and opened the way for her to receive grain without having to trade away her dignity. He did not suffocate her with power, did not shame her for her circumstances, but covered her with integrity. Do you see, my child? When I place a relationship in its right season within your life, it will not make you feel as though you must beg to be treated kindly. It will carry the fragrance of safety, respect, and support. I know there are old wounds that will try to tell you that you are asking for too much. They will whisper that as long as someone stays, that is enough, that loneliness is more frightening than being disregarded, that you should endure a little more. Stay silent a little longer. Lower yourself a little further, because perhaps this time everything will be different. But I speak to you with gentleness and solemn truth. Do not let the fear of loneliness lead you back to the place from which I rescued you. Loneliness in my hands can become a place of healing, but a wrong relationship can become the room where your soul is bound again. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. My presence is not a temporary substitute for the love you lack. My presence is the foundation that keeps you from entering love out of hunger. From now on, learn to discern not only by the words people speak, but by the fruit they produce in your life. Someone may say they love you, but does that love draw you closer to me? Does it make you more truthful, more peaceful, stronger, and more tender? Or does it make you live in anxiety, constantly editing yourself in order to avoid being abandoned? By their fruits you will know them. Matthew 7:20. Do not merely listen to promises, look at consistency. Do not only look at the emotion at the beginning, look at how they treat you when things do not go their way. Do not simply trust attraction. Ask whether your soul can rest in the light. My peace will not always be loud, but it will bear witness in the deepest place within you. I did not tell you to close the door of your heart. I do not want you to become suspicious of everyone or build walls so high that no one can come near. I only want you to have a door with wisdom, boundaries with love, and an open heart that does not lose its discernment. You can love without offering yourself up to disrespect. You can forgive without returning to the cycle that wounds you. You can remain tender without allowing yourself to be controlled. You can be alone without believing you have been abandoned. For you are no longer empty as you once were. I have rebuilt the foundation within you. Guard your heart above all else, for from it flow the springs of life. Proverbs 4:23. Guarding your heart does not mean freezing your heart. It means knowing what is worthy to enter your holy place. Therefore, my beloved child, step into the future with a soul that has been reminded of its worth. Do not return to old patterns simply because they are familiar. Do not choose someone's presence if that presence causes you to lose the awareness of my presence within your heart. Do not call control care. Do not call coldness a test. And do not call shrinking yourself a holy sacrifice. True sacrifice in love does not destroy dignity, it reveals life. True love does not chain you, It helps you stand more firmly in what I have called you to become. I am preparing cleaner, deeper, and healthier connections for you. Not necessarily loud ones, but ones with a foundation. These connections will not come to rescue you from emptiness, because that part is something I am healing within you. They will come as the resonance of two souls who know how to fear me, respect boundaries, protect vulnerability, and allow one another the freedom to grow in the light. And until that appears, do not fear the silence. Silence in me is not a punishment. It is a room of preparation. I am teaching you to love from fullness, not from lack, to choose from peace, not from panic, to enter connection from stability, not from the need to be proven worthy. My child, keep this written upon your heart. You do not need to beg to be treated with respect. You do not need to trade away your voice in order to remain in someone's life. You do not need to return to the old place simply because the new road has not yet fully appeared. I am with you, and my presence with you makes you strong enough to wait for what is good, clear-sighted enough to recognize what is false, tender enough to love rightly, and free enough to walk away from what does not carry life. From now on, every relationship that is allowed to come near you must pass through my light. Whatever is built on love, respect, protection, and freedom will stand firm. Whatever needs fear, control, and emptiness in order to survive will reveal itself, and you will no longer live as an abandoned soul, but as a beloved child, loved, kept, led, and prepared for connections marked by the peace of the kingdom of heaven. My beloved child, I know you have walked through gray places where the boundary between love and possession became blurred, where someone said they cared for you, yet made you afraid to be yourself, where protection was given a beautiful name, but, in truth, became a cage that made your soul smaller day by day. I saw you trying to explain away the things that hurt you, trying to believe that control was love, trying to see jealousy, coldness, pressure, and restriction as proof that you mattered. But today I am lighting your eyes again so that you may recognize this. True love never requires you to lose yourself in order to stay. Love that comes from me does not make you tremble before the truth of your own heart. It does not make you hide your voice, your joy, your tears, your dreams, or your light just to satisfy another person. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. 1 John 4:18. If a connection makes you live in fear of being punished for honesty, abandoned for having boundaries, or disregarded for having rightful needs, then that connection has not yet reflected the love I desire for you. I do not say this so that you will become closed off, hardened, or suspicious of every heart that draws near to you. I say it to remove from your shoulders the false burdens you have carried for far too long. You once thought that in order to be loved, you had to endure a little more, stay silent a little longer, make more room for another person's emotions, and hide your own weariness a little deeper. But my child, love is not self-erasure. When I teach you sacrifice, I do not teach you to let your soul be trampled on. When I teach you forgiveness, I do not command you to return to the old cycle and be wounded in the same way again. When I teach you tenderness, I do not ask you to become someone without boundaries. Guard your heart above all else, for from it flow the springs of life. Proverbs 4:23. Guarding your heart is not selfishness. It is holy obedience to the life I have placed within you. Remember that true care does not need to monitor your soul like a prison guard. True protection does not take away your right to breathe, your right to think, or your right to grow in the calling I have given specifically to you. True closeness does not demand that you constantly explain yourself until you are exhausted, constantly prove your loyalty, or constantly censor yourself to avoid anger or a punishing silence. If someone loves you with a healthy love, their presence will not make you fade more and more. It will help you stand more upright in the light. For the love I give does not suffocate, it brings life. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:17. That freedom is not lawlessness, but a holy space for you to become the person I have called you to be. I am opening your eyes so that you will no longer confuse intensity with health. Some emotions are very strong, yet they do not carry life. Some connections make your heart beat faster, yet leave your soul exhausted. Some words are sweet, but behind them lies the need to possess. Some promises are grand, but they lack small consistencies. Some people want you near them, but do not truly want you to grow in me. Discern by the fruit, not only by the flowers. By their fruits you will know them. Matthew 7:20. Flowers may be beautiful for a season, but fruit reveals the nature of the tree. A relationship that comes from life will produce peace, respect, responsibility, freedom, and maturity. A wrong relationship may intoxicate you at first, but over time it will produce fear, dependence, confusion, and the loss of your voice. Remember Abraham when I called him to leave his homeland, his familiar circle, and the things that had defined his life before. I did not call him out of the old so that he would wander without meaning. I called him into a greater promise. There are times when I also call you to leave familiar relationship patterns, not because I want you to be lonely, but because I want you to be free enough to receive what is right. If you keep staying in places that make you smaller, it will be difficult for you to step into connections that require you to stand firm in your dignity. Abraham had to leave the old land before he saw the promised land. You also have things within your heart that you must leave behind. The belief that you must beg for love, the habit of enduring control, and the fear that if you set boundaries, you will be abandoned forever. Go from your country, from your kindred, to the land that I will show you. Genesis 12:1. That calling is not only geographical, it is also a calling out of every familiar place that no longer contains life. I know there is still a part within you that fears that if you do not lower yourself, you will lose someone. But I speak to you with tenderness. The one who only stays when you make yourself small does not truly love you in freedom. The one who only feels at peace when they can control you has not yet learned to love with my love. The one who makes you afraid when you are honest cannot be a refuge for your soul. You do not need to condemn them, but you do need to see clearly. You can have compassion and still keep distance. You can pray and still not reopen the door I helped you close. You can forgive and still not place yourself back into a position where you can be wounded again. Be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Matthew 10:16. Innocence keeps your heart from bitterness. Wisdom keeps your feet from returning to danger. You were not created to live in relationships where you constantly have to measure another person's emotional temperature before you dare to breathe. You were not created to exist like a shadow beside someone who does not know how to honor the light within you. You were not created to turn love into a contest of endurance, where the more you suffer, the more you convince yourself that you are being faithful. I created you to love in truth, to be loved in truth, and to grow in a space where life is not distorted. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. Proverbs 25:11. A healthy relationship will have timely words, correction filled with grace, conversations that bring clarity rather than humiliation, and boundaries that are respected rather than mocked. Look to Jesus when he met the woman caught in adultery. Those around her wanted to use shame to define her, to stone her with law stripped of mercy, but he did not control her through disgrace, nor did he release her into chaos. He protected her from condemnation, then called her into a new life. Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. John 8:11. Do you see? My child, true love both protects and sets free. It carries both mercy and holiness. It preserves dignity while inviting growth. It does not imprison you in the past, does not use your mistakes to possess you, and does not make you afraid of the truth. It lifts you up so that you may walk in the light. From now on, keep this discernment like a lamp within your heart. True respect sees you in the light of the dignity I have placed within you, not as an object to possess, reshape according to someone's will, or use to fill another person's lack. True protection stands with you in integrity, not around you in control. True love is a place where you are allowed to grow, not a place where you lose your voice more and more. If you have to trade your peace in order to keep a relationship, stop and bring that matter before me. If you constantly have to shrink your joy, your calling, your truth, and your boundaries in order to be accepted, ask me whether that is truly where I want you to remain. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Colossians 3:15. Let that peace be the referee, for it will help you recognize what nourishes life and what only feeds dependence. I am leading you into connections that do not require you to be afraid in order to be loved. Those connections may not arrive with noise or overwhelming attraction, but they will have a clean foundation. There, you will be able to speak the truth without being punished with silence. You will be able to set boundaries without being called selfish. You will be able to be weak without being exploited. You will be able to be strong without being treated as a threat. You will be able to grow without the person beside you feeling the need to pull you down. That is the mark of mature love. It is not afraid of your light, because it has not come to possess you, but to walk with you in my presence. And if today you are still learning to believe that you are worthy of such health, let me remind you once more, your worth is not determined by the way others have treated you. Those who did not know how to love you rightly have no authority to rewrite what I have spoken over you. The seasons in which you were disregarded cannot erase the identity I have placed upon you. Wrong relationships may have wounded you, but they cannot define your soul if you allow me to heal you. I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore I have drawn you with loving kindness. Jeremiah 31:3. That everlasting love is where you learn to stand firm again, not through defensiveness, but through being loved. So walk forward, my beloved child, with a tender heart and clear eyes, with an open heart and holy boundaries, with forgiveness that does not lose wisdom, with hope that does not return to old chains. I will keep you from the things that once wounded you as you remain close to me and do not ignore the warning of my Spirit. I will teach you to recognize love that carries the fragrance of freedom, protection that carries the fragrance of peace, and respect that carries the fragrance of light. You do not need to shrink in order to be loved. You do not need to be afraid in order to remain. You do not need to lose yourself in order to keep a connection. In me, you are being restored to step into relationships that cause you to bloom in life. Stand firm in dignity and reflect perfect love in which there is no room left for fear. My beloved child, when you learn to see repetitions and blocked doors as two different expressions of the same loving hand, your heart will no longer be so easily pulled into panic. You will no longer think that an obstruction is a sign that I have abandoned you, nor will you dismiss the things that keep returning again and again as though they were merely coincidence. You will begin to recognize that I lead you more precisely than you ever imagined. I do not leave you standing alone at crossroads, forcing you to guess your way through the fog. I do not simply call you to a good path and then leave you to manage on your own so you will not get lost. I go before you. I walk beside you. And many times I quietly walk behind you to close the paths you no longer need to return to. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Psalm 121:8. That keeping is not only found in what I allow to open, but also in what I gently refuse to let continue. When you understand this, closed doors will no longer break you as they once did. They may still make you sad, still leave you with a sense of loss, still require you to sit quietly before me so your heart can be healed. But they will no longer cause you to doubt my love. A door closed in my hand is not a mockery of your hope. It may be a fence of protection, a redirection, an ending to what has completed its season, or a necessary pause before you recognize another path that is wider. In the same way, repetition will no longer make you careless or confused. If something keeps returning in peace, keeps being emphasized in many ways, keeps drawing your heart closer to me, you will know to pause and ask, Father, what are you wanting me to recognize? Teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth. Psalm 86:11. That prayer will keep you from two extremes, ignoring what I am reminding you of, or forcing what I have never opened. I want you to understand more deeply how my true doors open. Not everything that belongs to me must come with a loud sound, intense pressure, or the feeling that you must run quickly or else you will lose it. Some doors of heaven open so gently that those who live too hurriedly will overlook them. But those who know how to remain in peace will recognize them. They do not require you to break them down, to plead in desperation, or to trade away purity in order to keep them. When I open something in its right season, it often carries a very different flow. The right person appears. The right word is spoken. The right timing brings things together. The right preparation within you has matured. And though you still need to obey and take steps forward, your soul is not suffocated by coercion. Behold, I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. Revelation 3:8. What I open does not need you to hold it with fear. You only need to step through it by faith. But you also need discernment, because not every easy thing comes from me, and not every difficult thing is against my will. There are wide paths that lead your soul away from the light. There are roads that require perseverance, yet are filled with deep peace. Therefore, my seal is not found merely in whether everything is convenient or not, but in the spiritual fragrance that accompanies the opening. When a door comes from me, it does not make you lose yourself in order to enter. It does not force you to lie, to compete, to lower your dignity, to chase approval, or to live in constant tension in order to keep what I have given. The wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits. James 3:17. Weigh every door by that purity, my child, and you will not be easily deceived by appearances. My beloved child, there were things you once tried to open by your own strength, and the more you tried, the more exhausted your soul became. You knocked, but not with faith. You knocked with fear. You waited, but not in peace. You waited in anxiety, fearing that if that thing did not happen, you would no longer be loved, no longer have value, no longer have a future. I do not condemn you for having been that way. I know the deep places of lack that caused you to hold on so tightly. But now I am teaching you another way. Whatever comes from me will not require you to lose your rest in me. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and whose hope is the Lord. Jeremiah 17:7. The one who places trust in me can faithfully do their part, but does not need to turn themselves into the one who holds the entire universe from falling apart. Remember the story of Ruth. She did not force herself into destiny with haste, nor did she fight to open a door for her future. She was faithful in the small things, remaining with Naomi, entering the field to glean grain, living humbly, and keeping her heart pure in a season full of uncertainty. And in that quiet faithfulness, I arranged for her to come into the very field of Boaz. She happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, Ruth 2:3. But in my hand, what appeared to be happenstance was guidance hidden beneath the appearance of the ordinary. The door did not open with the sound of a trumpet, but through a morning of gleaning. It did not come because Ruth broke through every barrier, but because she walked in faithfulness, and I caused the right person to see the right thing at the right time. In the same way, I can open things for you in very natural ways. A conversation that was never planned becomes a turning point. An introduction arrives at the right moment. Peace appears where you thought you would feel anxious. An opportunity finds you without requiring you to over-promote yourself. An idea that had been asleep is suddenly confirmed by someone else. A small door opens, then leads to a wider path. Do not despise ordinary things simply because they do not look miraculous. I often hide the miraculous within the ordinary, so that the proud overlook it, but the humble recognize it. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, Psalm 37:23. It is not only the great steps that I order, even the small steps. The seemingly secondary steps, the steps taken in everyday life, can be part of the map of my grace. When a door opens from me, it often comes with a quiet harmony between timing, people, and the preparation within you. If it had opened earlier, you might not have been steady enough to enter. If it had opened later, you might have grown weary from waiting. But I know the rhythm. I know when the seed is cracked open, when the roots have taken hold deeply enough, when your heart has become soft enough, when humility has grown deep enough, and when you can receive a blessing without turning it into an idol. He has made everything beautiful in its time, Ecclesiastes 3:11. My timing is beautiful, not only because of what happens, but because you have been prepared to carry it without losing your soul. Therefore, do not confuse peace with passivity. When I open a door, you still need to step forward. When I give an opportunity, you still need to be faithful. When I place the right people on your path, you still need humility, clarity, and truthfulness. But walking through my door is different from breaking a door open by your own strength. One is born from obedience, the other is born from fear of missing out. One may require effort, but it does not darken your soul. The other makes you move further away from peace the harder you try. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light, Matthew 11:30. The burden I give is not always light in the sense that it carries no responsibility, but it is light because grace upholds you as you carry it. I want you to look back over your journey and recognize my hand in both what opened and what closed. There were things you once wept over because you could not keep them, but later you will give thanks because I did not allow them to keep you. There were doors you once thought were too small, but when you stepped through them, you saw that they led you into a place wider than your heart had expected. There were repetitions you once ignored, yet they were the bells I used to awaken you. There were obstructions you once resisted, yet they were walls of mercy protecting you from a painful detour. We know that all things work together for good to those who love God, Romans 8:28. I am not saying all things are pleasant, but I have the authority to make all things serve my redemptive and guiding purpose. My beloved child, let peace stand as the gatekeeper of your heart. When something opens but brings chaos, hostility, striving, fear, and the loss of purity with it, slow down. When something opens gently, clearly, and at the right time, drawing you closer to me, enlarging your heart in humility and responsibility. Pray and then step forward. When something closes, do not immediately conclude that you have failed. Ask me what is being protected, what is being redirected, what has completed its season, and what is being prepared ahead. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Proverbs 3:5-6. To acknowledge me in all things is to learn to see me, both in the sound of a door opening and in the silence of a door closing. I do not want you to live as someone who must rescue their own life by their own strength. I want you to live as one who is led, kept, prepared, and loved. I do not only open the way for you, I also keep you from wandering away from that way. I do not only place a door before you, I also make your heart clear enough to recognize which door is mine and which path belongs to haste. I do not only give opportunity, I also give peace, so that you may know how to enter that opportunity without losing yourself. Therefore, slow down when needed. Listen more deeply. Look at what opens with humility, and look at what closes with trust. And there will come a time when you look back and see that not one detail in my hand was wasted. The repetitions awakened you. The closed doors protected you. The gently opened doors led you into the right season. The waiting deepened your roots. The things that seemed natural turned out to be the arrangement of love. And when you recognize this, you will no longer live in fear that you must make everything happen by yourself. You will walk in harmony with me, knowing that what I open, no one can shut. What I close does not need to be broken open in desperation. And what I prepare will come at the right time, in the right way, through the right people, in the right rhythm, so that your life may become a gentle testimony that your Father has never led you down the wrong path. My beloved child, people may look at the repeated patterns in your life and call them coincidence, but I want you to learn to see with deeper eyes. In my kingdom, not every repetition is random, and not every encounter, every reminder, every closed door, every feeling that returns again and again is merely the aimless current of life. There are things I allow to appear before you more than once, not to confuse you, but to pierce through the layer of doubt that caused you to overlook the first touch. I know that sometimes you need to be reminded more than once, not because your heart is hardened, but because you have gone through many things that have made your heart cautious. Therefore, I am patient. I do not rebuke you for not understanding immediately. I place a sign in today, then let it echo into tomorrow, then gently remind you again through another conversation, another scripture, another inner stirring, until your soul slows down and recognizes something is being emphasized by me. Do not fear that emphasis. My dear child, when I repeat something in your life, I do not do so to force you, but to awaken holy attention within you. There are truths that do not only need to be heard, but need to be recognized. There are directions that do not only need to be seen, but need to be confirmed in peace. There are things I want you to release, but if they touch you only once, you may convince yourself that it was merely a passing feeling. There are things I want you to step into, but if I open only one ray of light, you may hesitate, fearing that you are imagining it. Therefore, I allow the same current to return, like steady waves touching the shore, not destroying the sand, but awakening it to the presence of the vast sea. By the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word shall be established. 2 Corinthians 13:1. I can use that principle of confirmation not only through the words of others, but also through the holy rhythm of repetition in your journey. Remember the people of Israel in the wilderness. I did not give them one single sign and then leave them to guess the rest of the way by themselves. I went before them by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, so they would know when to move when to stop, and when to wait. The Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light. Exodus 13:21. Do you see? My guidance is not a cold idea, but a living presence. The pillar of cloud did not appear only once to impress them. It remained with them, repeating the rhythm of moving and stopping and moving, until the people learned that they were not to be led by their own haste, nor by a map drawn by fear, but by my rhythm. It is the same with you. There are things I am repeating in your life to teach you to follow my presence, not your assumptions. A certain phrase keeps returning to your heart. A certain theme continues to appear through different sources. A quiet prompting to pray for the same matter keeps rising within you. A gentle warning keeps standing before you, even when you try to walk past it. Do not be quick to dismiss all of these as scattered fragments. Bring them into the place of prayer. Ask me, Father, what is being emphasized here? What do I need to recognize? Where do I need to slow down? Where do I need to continue forward? For if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. James it, Fem. And I do not reproach you when you come to ask. I rejoice when you no longer live by haste, but by seeking me in love. Yet I also want you to understand another form of guidance, one that is gentle but sometimes makes your heart ache, a closed door. Not every closing is a failure. Not every opportunity that disappears is punishment. Not every interrupted connection is a sign that you have been abandoned. There are times when I protect you by not allowing something to continue. There are times when I close a direction, not because you are unworthy, but because that direction no longer fits what I am preparing. You may only see a conversation that no longer flows, a promise that goes nowhere, a plan that seemed close to happening but falls silent, a door that had just opened slightly and then closes again. But I see the end of the road that you cannot yet see. I will go before you and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of bronze and cut the bars of iron. Isaiah 45:2. When something needs to be opened, I have the authority to open it. But when you need to be held back, my closing of a door is also mercy. My beloved child, I know the disappointment you feel after you have hoped. I know the silence after an opportunity disappears can make you wonder whether you did something wrong. I know that when a connection suddenly breaks off, you may look back at every word, every action, every moment, and blame yourself. But let me place my hand upon those thoughts. Not everything that leaves does so because you are lacking. Some things leave because their season has ended. Some things do not come together because I do not want you to build your future on an unstable foundation. Some doors do not open because behind them there is not the life you are imagining. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 14:12. I do not use that verse to frighten you, but to remind you that your eyes see only what is near, while I see the end. Remember Paul and his missionary companions. They wanted to preach in the region of Asia, but the Holy Spirit forbade them. They tried to enter Bithynia, but the Spirit of Jesus did not permit them. Outwardly, it may have looked like a series of closed doors, good plans being blocked without an explanation that was immediately clear. But later, in a vision during the night, Paul saw a man of Macedonia standing and pleading, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." Acts 16:9. Do you see? The obstruction was not the ending, it was positioning. I close certain paths in order to direct the ones I love toward the place where the calling is waiting. If Paul had looked at the closed doors only through disappointment, he could have missed the greater direction. But because he allowed me to lead, the closed door became the hinge that turned him toward the right mission. Therefore, when something can no longer continue, do not rush to force it back to life. just because you became attached to your first hope. There are relationships that, if prolonged, would pull you away from peace. There are opportunities that, if you grasp them, would drain the purity I am building within you. There are paths that look bright but would require you to trade away obedience. When I close a door, I do not need to explain everything immediately, but I always act from love. He who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. Revelation 3:7. If I have closed it, you do not need to stand there pounding on the door until your heart is exhausted. Bow your head, breathe deeply in me, and trust that the hand that closed that door is also holding yours. But I also want you to be wise. Not every difficulty is a sign that you must stop. And not every closed door means the promise has died. Sometimes delay is training. Sometimes an obstacle is a testing of faith. Sometimes I want you to persevere in prayer and keep knocking. Therefore, you need to remain close to me in order to discern. A door I close often carries a deep loss of peace when you try to open it by your own strength, while a trial I allow often still has a thread of peace drawing you onward in obedience. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, Colossians 3:15. Let that peace be the referee, not temporary emotion, not pride, not fear of missing out, and not the pressure of other people. When I repeat a sign, I am emphasizing something. When I close a door, I am protecting or redirecting. When I keep you waiting, I am preparing you. When I cause an opportunity to gradually fall silent, I may be saving you from a louder noise later on. When I allow a connection to move away, I may be creating space for healing, or for the right people to enter in their proper season. Do not measure my kindness by whether you receive what you want immediately. Measure it by my faithfulness through every time. I have not allowed you to wander too far. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Psalm 121:8. I keep you not only through what I give, but also through what I do not permit. My beloved child, learn to look at coincidences and closed doors with a softer heart. Do not become superstitious, but do not become hardened either. Do not panic, but do not dismiss them lightly. Bring everything before me, so that what comes from me may shine more clearly. What comes from emotion may settle down, and what comes from fear may be healed. I do not want you to live by guesswork, but in companionship with me. You do not need to understand every arrangement in order to trust that I am going before you. The pillar of cloud still moves at the right time. The pillar of fire still gives light in the night, and your Father still knows the way through the wilderness. Therefore, if the same reminder keeps returning, listen. If the same warning keeps standing within your heart, pray. If a door closes with deep peace, even though you feel sorrow, release it into my hands. If something is blocked again and again, ask me whether I am protecting you from what you have not yet seen. I am not turning your life into a scattered chain of random events. I am weaving, leading, reminding, keeping, closing, opening, and preparing. And when you look back, you will see that even the moments you thought were losses were used by me as fences of love, to bring you out of a narrow path and lead you into a road wider, brighter, and more aligned with what I had ordained for your soul from the beginning. I want you to understand that the signs I send do not all have the same shape, because each sign carries its own work within your soul. There are signs meant to awaken you from numbness. When you have grown used to a rhythm of life that leaves your heart dry, I may send a gentle interruption, a sentence that makes you think, a sudden desire to pray, or an emptiness that can no longer be filled by the old things. This is not meant to condemn you, but to call you back. Awake, you who sleep. Arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. Ephesians 5:14. When the light awakens you, it does not shame you. It brings you out of the fog that made you forget where you belong. There are also signs meant to adjust you. Sometimes you are not entirely on the wrong path, but your inner rhythm has moved away from peace. You are still doing the right work, but doing it with an anxious spirit. You are still serving, but serving out of weariness and a longing to be recognized. You are still pursuing something good, but you have begun to hold it so tightly that you forget to ask me. In those moments, I do not necessarily close the door in front of you right away. I realign the motive within your heart. I cause you to realize that you need to slow down. Return, and place that matter on the altar once again. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. Psalm 37:5. My adjustment does not destroy what is good. It purifies the way you carry that good thing. There are signs meant to protect you. There are times when an opportunity looks very favorable. An invitation sounds reasonable, or a connection seems full of promise. Yet your heart cannot rest. Do not be quick to call that warning negativity. If you bring it into prayer and it still remains like a gentle red light, honor what I am allowing you to perceive. I can see what you cannot yet see. I can know the end of the road when you have only seen the first gate. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. Psalm 121:7. Many times, a small obstruction today is a great mercy preserving you from tomorrow's wound. But there are also signs meant to prepare you. Before I bring you into a new season, I often begin by changing the appetite of your heart. The things that once held you back suddenly no longer attract you as they did before. The places where you once felt you belonged suddenly become too narrow. Old promises suddenly return to your heart with new weight. You feel as though something within you is being rearranged, even though nothing outside is clear yet. That is holy preparation. I am making you ready before you see the door. As Joshua commanded the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. Joshua 3:5. The tomorrow of miracles often begins with the sanctification of today. Remember Philip in the book of Acts? He was in the midst of a revival in Samaria, where many people were being touched and joy was spreading widely. But an angel of the Lord told him to rise and go toward the south, down the desert road from Jerusalem to Gaza. Outwardly, that seemed unreasonable, leaving a crowded place to go into a barren one. But Philip did not live only by outward information. He knew how to obey guidance. And on that deserted road, he met the Ethiopian official who was reading the book of Isaiah. And then the Spirit said, "Go near and overtake this chariot." Acts 8:29. A subtle leading opened a destined encounter. Do you see? There are places that look empty but contain a mission. There are steps that are not confirmed by the crowd but are arranged by heaven. Therefore, my beloved child, learn to recognize spiritual life in all things, not through superstition, not by forcing meaning onto every detail, but by remaining close to me. When you are near me, you will recognize the fragrance of life. A word may sound beautiful, but if it lacks love, your soul will know. An opportunity may seem great, but if it pulls you away from obedience, the peace within you will give warning. A path may be small and unnoticed by many, but if I am in it, your heart will carry a gentle light that does not need to be displayed. The wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits. James 3:17. Weigh what you encounter by that fragrance, and you will not be easily deceived by appearance. I know there are times when you fear that you may hear wrongly, misunderstand, or take the wrong step. But I am not a harsh father, standing far away to see whether you can decode every signal correctly. I am the Good Shepherd, going before you, calling you, correcting you, keeping you, and, if necessary, drawing you back. When you sincerely seek me, I will not allow your sincerity to be swallowed by darkness. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. James 1:5. Therefore, when you are unsure, ask me. When your heart feels unsettled, place it under the Word. When you need confirmation, wait in peace instead of running in panic. From now on, I want you to walk as one who is led by my presence, not merely by information. Information can tell you what is happening, but my presence helps you understand what it means for your soul. Information can point to the surface of an event, but I show you the current beneath it. Information can come from many voices, but spiritual life comes from me. When you are aligned with me, you will not need to analyze yourself into exhaustion. You will know when to stop. You will know when to pray more. You will know when to release. You will know when to step forward, even if that step is small and quiet. My sheep hear my voice, and they follow me. John 10:27. Hearing me is not only recognizing a sound, hearing me is living in such trust that you are able to follow. My beloved child, no true sign from me is random. If I awaken you, it is because I do not want you to remain asleep in what has already completed its season. If I correct you, it is because I want you to walk in the right rhythm and not drift away from peace. If I protect you, it is because I see what you do not yet see and love you too deeply to let you step into unnecessary harm. If I prepare you, it is because what lies ahead requires a more mature version of you. Let the diversity of the ways I speak and teach you not confuse you, but make you more humble, more intimate with me, and more awake. I am life, and life cannot be confined to one single form. So keep your heart tender, your eyes clear, and your ears open to my peace. Do not live as someone who must decode every sign, but as someone who knows their Father. When you know me, you will recognize me in stillness, in reminders, in obstruction, in open doors, in closed doors, in the prompting to pray, and in the gentle light that shines upon the next step. I am leading you into a new level of maturity, where you no longer seek only the form of a sign, but recognize me in the subtle current of life. And when you walk this way, you will no longer be blind in environments that do not belong to you, nor swept away by every outside voice, but will move in harmony with me, peaceful, awake, discerning, and steady, like a child whose father is holding their hand through every season, appointed in love. My beloved child, I have seen the seasons when you had to live as though every word you spoke needed to be weighed carefully, so someone else's expression would not change. I saw you learning to read the atmosphere of a room before you dared to breathe deeply, learning to pull back your joy so it would not disturb someone else, learning to swallow your emotions in order to preserve a fragile peace that was, in truth, exhausting your soul. There were places where you stayed too long, not because there was life there, but because you feared that if you spoke the truth, stood upright, or set a boundary, everything would collapse. But my child, a peace maintained by losing yourself is not the peace I give. My peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. John 14:27. My peace does not require you to disappear. It gives you enough safety to be present in truth. Today I speak to you with tenderness, yet with clarity, Do not call control love anymore. Do not call surveillance care. Do not call coercion protection. Do not call having to ask permission to be yourself attachment. True love does not lock you in a cage decorated with sweet words. It does not build walls around your soul and then say it is keeping you safe. It does not clip your wings and tell you that flying is dangerous. Love that reflects me does not make you increasingly afraid. Small, silent, and dependent. Love that comes from me causes you to grow in the light. Stand more firmly in truth. Become softer in mercy. And become freer to be the person I have called you to be. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:17. If a place makes you lose more and more spiritual freedom, the longer you remain there, you need to bring that place into my light. I did not create you to live in endless caution. I did not place a voice within you so that you would always hide it beneath the fear of being misunderstood. I did not give you a heart that knows how to love so that you would have to erase yourself for someone to keep you. You can be humble without being subdued by control. You can be gentle without becoming easy to manipulate. You can love deeply without allowing another person to rule your soul through their instability. Remember that for freedom Christ has made us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. Galatians 5:1. The freedom I give is not so that you may live selfishly, but so that you do not return to the chains that once suffocated the life within you. Some people will call your boundaries cold because they were used to you having none. Some people will call your honesty a change because they once benefited from your silence. Some people will say you have become harder to approach, when in truth, you are simply becoming healthier. Do not let those words pull you back into the old mold. A healed soul is not always applauded by the people of the former season. When you no longer allow yourself to be controlled by guilt, by punishing silence, by the fear of abandonment, or by the feeling that you must constantly prove your heart. Certain structures will shake, but what shakes is not always something you are meant to rescue. Some things shake because they were not built on truth. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Matthew 15:13. I do not uproot to leave you empty. I uproot so that the soil of your heart will have room for what is healthy to grow. Look at the story of Israel leaving Egypt. They had grown so accustomed to chains that when they stood before the journey of freedom, there were times when they remembered Egypt as though it had truly fed them well. But I knew that fullness and slavery was not the destiny of my people. I did not bring them out of Egypt only for them to carry a slave's mind into the promised land. I had to teach them to walk, to trust, to recognize the cloud and the fire, to eat manna, to listen to my word, and to learn that freedom is not only leaving a place, it is being transformed out of the fear that makes them want to return to the old place. My beloved child, it is the same with you. I am not only bringing you out of connections that made you small, I am also healing the part of you that once believed control was normal, that living cautiously was love, and that losing your voice was the price of closeness. True love does not make you guess whether you are loved depending on another person's mood. True love does not turn silence into punishment, closeness into a reward, or distance into a tool of control. True love can face the truth, talk about wounds, and correct what has gone wrong. But it does not suffocate your dignity. It does not make you bow before another person's insecurity as though before an idol. It does not require you to cut away your calling, your joy, your friends, your peace, and your voice in order to prove that you are faithful. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil. 1 Corinthians 13:4-5. Look at the fruit of love, not only the name given to it. Whatever bears the name of love but produces fear, shrinking, and darkness does not carry my fragrance. I am placing within your soul a standard that cannot be compromised. Anything that makes you smaller in a way that hides the light I have placed within you must cause you to stop and discern. Anything that makes you afraid to speak the truth, afraid to rejoice, afraid to grow, or afraid to obey me cannot be called my way. Any connection that is only stable when you betray yourself, only peaceful when you no longer ask questions, and only able to exist when you are always the one lowering yourself must be brought into the light. Test all things. Hold fast what is good. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. You do not need to reject everyone out of fear, but you must learn to weigh everything by life, truth, and peace. I know freedom may feel unfamiliar to you at first. When you have grown used to living under control, a healthy space can feel strange. When you have grown used to striving to be accepted, a person who respects you may leave you unsure how to respond. When you have grown used to loving intention, peaceful love may initially seem less dramatic. But remember this: calmness is not a lack of depth. Peace is not coldness. Freedom is not distance. There are kinds of love that do not need to hurt you in order to prove they are real. There are relationships that do not need to pull you into chaos in order to make you feel alive. I am teaching you to recognize the fragrance of health, so that you will no longer mistake wounds for passion, tension for attachment, or control for care. Look to Jesus when he called his disciples. He said, "Follow me." But he did not manipulate them with fear in order to keep them by his side. He invited, taught, corrected, and loved. But he did not steal their will. Even when many people walked away, he asked the 12, "Do you also want to go away?" John 6:67. Do you see? Holy love does not need control in order to make people stay. It speaks the truth, reveals life, and allows freedom to respond. I want your relationships to carry that same spirit: truth without oppression, commitment without chains, closeness without taking away the breathing room of the soul. Therefore, do not be afraid to become clearer. Do not be afraid to say no to what darkens your soul. Do not be afraid to leave the patterns that force you to shrink in order to survive. Do not be afraid of the silence that comes after you stop chasing old approval. That silence may be the room I use to restore your voice to you. I will teach you to hear the rhythm of your own heart again in my presence. I will teach you to recognize what is love and what is dependence, what is sacrifice and what is self-destruction, what is protection and what is imprisonment, what is correction and what is humiliation. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. That light will not only illuminate the road before you, but also the false definitions you once accepted within your heart. I am leading you into a season of healthier connections, where you do not have to live as someone always on guard, nor become a shadow in order to remain in the right relationships for their season. You will be listened to without being dismissed, loved without being possessed, protected without being controlled, corrected without being humiliated, and held close without losing your freedom. There, you can grow, you can breathe, you can obey me without apologizing for the light within you. You can love with an open heart, because that love no longer comes from the fear of abandonment, but from the fullness I am restoring within you. My beloved child, hold this standard like an unfailing lamp within your heart. What comes from me will not clip your wings. It will teach you to fly in order and grace. What comes from me will not take away your voice. It will help your voice become purer and wiser. What comes from me will not make you small in fear. It will cause you to grow in love. And when you step into those connections, you will recognize a profound truth. You do not lose freedom when you love rightly. On the contrary, in love that reflects me, Your freedom is protected, your life is expanded, and your soul finds the resting place it has longed for. I am with you in that journey. I keep you in the light, and I will not let you return to the cage whose door I have already opened for you to walk out of. My beloved child, let this standard become a firm foundation within your heart, not as a dry, rigid rule that makes you afraid, but as a lamp I place in your hand, so that you will not mistakenly step into places that only carry the shape of love while lacking the life of love. What comes from heaven will not make you shrink in fear, will not force you to trade your peace in order to remain, and will not make you tear down the holy boundaries I taught you to build after seasons of tears. Love that reflects me always carries the fragrance of peace, respect, patience, and freedom. It does not pull your soul into a cycle of having to prove, explain, chase, or constantly fix yourself just to fit into another person's insecurity. That love causes you to blossom, not to contract. It makes you stand firm, not collapse. It helps you become more true to yourself, not wear another face in order to be accepted. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, Colossians 3:15. For that peace is the gatekeeper I have placed within you, to discern what carries life and what merely carries temporary attraction. You need to remember this. Love that comes from me does not move with the rhythm of haste. It does not panic when things must slow down. It does not treat waiting as an enemy. And it does not force everything to take shape immediately in order to prove that it is real. Things that come from fear are often rushed, because they are afraid that if they do not grasp something at once, they will lose it. Things that come from lack often pressure and push, because they want to fill the emptiness before the soul has time to discern. But what comes from me can be powerful and still calm, clear without being coercive, deep without being chaotic. Whoever believes will not act hastily. Isaiah 28:16. Faith does not slow you down because of weakness. Faith makes you steady because it knows that what I give does not need to be held by the fingernails of panic, but is upheld by my faithful hand. I know you have once been drawn to things that burst forth very quickly. There were words that came like fire, emotions that flooded in like a great wave, and forms of attention that made your heart believe that perhaps, at last, you had been seen. But not every bright flame is a flame that gives warmth. Some things rise high, only to burn out quickly, leaving ashes in the place that was once called hope. True love is not recognized only in the first moment when it makes your heart tremble, but in its ability to remain with truth, grow in patience, and nourish your soul over time. Love is patient. Love is kind. Corinthians 3:4. Patience is not enduring toxic harm. It is a healthy steadfastness that does not rush to destroy, does not rush to possess, and does not rush to demand what has not yet come into season. The love I am preparing for you will be more like a deep stream than an impulsive blaze. That stream may not impress you at once with loud noise, but it continually nourishes the roots, softens dry ground, and brings life to weary places. When you are in the right flow, your soul will not be pushed into a state of overwhelm, sleeplessness, anxiety, addiction to emotion, or having to guess whether that person will still remain tomorrow. You will not have to live like someone standing at the edge of a cliff, both happy to be pulled close and afraid of being pushed away. Love in the right season may move your heart, but it will not make you lose your center. It may cause you to open your heart, but it will not make you lose your discernment. It may invite you to go deeper, but it will not rob you of your right to breathe in peace. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23:2-3. What comes from me will have the power to restore your soul, not continually cause it to fracture. My child, learn to distinguish between intensity and holiness. Intensity can make you think something is important. But holiness is what shows you whether it is healthy. Intensity can sweep you away, but holiness will set you back into order. Intensity can make you want to overlook the small warnings, but holiness teaches you to honor even the gentle signals of peace. There are things that come quickly, speak loudly, promise greatly, touch the old emptiness within you, and then cause you to mistake stimulation for love. But love that comes from me does not feed on the chaos within you. It does not need to throw you off balance in order to prove that it has influence. It may come gently, yet every step is steady. It may grow slowly, yet the more it grows, the purer it becomes. It may not overwhelm you, but it will lead you into rest. Remember Isaac and Rebekah. Not every detail in that story will mirror your journey, but there is something within it that I want you to see when I lead. There is arrangement, there is prayer, there is timing, there is recognition, and there is peace in receiving. Abraham's servant did not chase after the first outward appearance with haste. He asked for guidance, observed the fruit of kindness, and recognized the sign in the way Rebekah served with generosity. She was not only beautiful outwardly, her heart carried willingness, kindness, and the courage to step into something new. The Lord has led me in the way. Genesis 24:27. Do you see? When I place you into a right connection, it is not built only on a sudden burst of emotion. It is revealed through good fruit, through respect, through confirmation in peace, and through a rhythm that opens without force. Therefore, do not be afraid of slowness. Some things need time to reveal their fruit. Some hearts need time to show their true nature. Some promises need to be tested through consistency. If a connection cannot endure the light of time, then you should be grateful that time helped you see. What comes from me is not afraid of maturity. It is not afraid of honest conversations. It is not afraid of boundaries. It is not afraid of you praying, waiting, observing, and bringing everything into the light. On the contrary, healthy love will honor that process, because it does not need to possess you before your soul has had time to recognize. Test the spirits to see whether they are from God. 1 John 4:1. Testing something in the light does not destroy what is true. It only makes what is true become clearer. I want you to understand that peace does not mean the absence of responsibility, and naturalness does not mean there is no need for cultivation. When something right opens, you will still need faithfulness, communication, maturity, and the healing of old reactions, so that you do not carry the shadow of past wounds into something new. But the difference is that you do not have to do all of it in panic. You do not have to keep it by betraying yourself. You do not have to chase after it just to beg for fragments of certainty. You do not have to turn yourself into someone else in order not to be abandoned. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:30. The burden of true love may carry responsibility, but it carries no chains. It may carry commitment, but not suffocation. It may require cultivation, but fear does not rule over it. Perhaps you will need to relearn the feeling of safety, because old seasons taught you to confuse chaos with closeness. When something healthy comes, at first it may confuse you because it does not pull you into the familiar emotional highs. It does not make you guess. It does not turn every day into a contest to keep someone's attention. It does not make you addicted to the rise and fall of hope and disappointment. It stands there gentler, clearer, more consistent. You may feel strange because your soul was once used to storms, but I am teaching you that home is not the place where the wind beats endlessly against the windows. Home is where you can breathe, where you can pray, where you can be yourself, where you can grow without fearing that your light will make someone else uncomfortable. Return to your rest, O my soul, For the Lord has dealt bountifully with you. Psalm 116:7. I want your soul to know how to rest in what is healthy. From now on, when a connection draws near to you, observe not only what it says, but the rhythm it carries. Does it rush you beyond your boundaries? Does it make you afraid of losing it if you need time? Does it honor your prayer, your growth, your purity, and your truth? Does it help you draw closer to me? Or does it pull you away from my voice so that you chase after the voice of a person? Does it expand your life in grace? Or does it require you to cut pieces of yourself away in order to fit into it? The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Galatians 5:22-23. Look at the fruit. Do not look only at the promise. Do not look only at the first feeling. Do not look only at the attraction. Fruit will tell the truth over time. I do not want you to become cold or afraid of love. I want you to love from fullness, not from lack. I want you to open your heart with wisdom, not with the hunger to be chosen. I want you to receive what is right without having to fight for it, and to release what is wrong without condemning yourself. When what is right comes, it will not require you to break your peace in order to keep it. It will harmonize with the life I have placed within you, like a river finding its proper course, like a seed meeting the right soil, like a song finding its true key. You will still need to care for it, but you will not have to battle against your own soul in order to believe that you are safe. My beloved child, engrave this principle upon your heart. Love from heaven does not pressure you through panic, does not keep you through control, does not grow through toxic ambiguity, and does not demand that you make yourself smaller to prove your devotion. It carries peace, honors boundaries, creates room for growth, and makes you more whole in me. If something makes you rush past discernment, slow down. If something requires you to exchange your spiritual freedom in order to be close, step back. If something comes with stability, light, respect, patience, and life, bring it into prayer and let me confirm each step. I am with you in the journey of learning to love rightly. I will keep you from false currents and lead you into deep waters, where your soul no longer has to strain in order to live, but is nourished, expanded, healed, and set free in the kind of love that reflects me. My beloved child, let your heart settle in my presence, for what I am placing within you is not a fear that must suspect everyone, nor a tension that keeps you always living on guard. I am giving you a gentle yet sharp discernment, so that you will no longer be swept back into old cycles where you once cried, waited, blamed yourself, and believed that you had to do more in order to be worthy of love. I do not want you to learn the same lesson through tears again and again. I do not lead you into connections so that you lose your direction and then call that pain maturity. I am your Father, the one who corrects with love and guides with light. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought. Isaiah 58:11. My guidance will not leave your soul dried out in places that keep promising life but only leave emptiness behind. Therefore, when you see a painful pattern repeating in your life, do not be quick to overlook it. If you constantly feel dismissed, constantly have to wait for a little attention, like someone standing outside the door begging to be allowed in, constantly wonder what you did wrong, constantly strain to become attractive enough, gentle enough, quiet enough, agreeable enough, then you need to stop in, my light. That is not the river of healthy love. That is an alarm I allow to sound in order to awaken you from the familiarity of lack. Consider your ways Haggai 1:5. Not so that you may condemn yourself, but so that you may recognize where you are standing, what you are repeating, and what part of your heart still believes that crumbs are a banquet. I never intended for you to have a love that you must beg in order to be seen. I did not place you in a connection where you must chase clarity as though it were a luxury. Love that comes from me does not make you wake up every day afraid of whether your place will still be held today. It does not make you live on tiny drops of attention, nor does it make you addicted to moments of closeness, only to collapse when you are met with coldness. True love does not turn your worth into something that must be negotiated day by day. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness, I have drawn you. Jeremiah 31:3. When you are drawn by my love, you no longer have to chase after places that only know how to pull you through instability. Remember Hagar in the wilderness. She had once been in a circumstance that wounded her, where she was seen through the lens of lowly status and pushed into loneliness with a child in her womb. But I met her in the desert, not to ignore her tears, but to name her pain and reveal that I saw her. She called me the God who sees me. Genesis 16:13. My beloved child, I also see you in the places where you once felt invisible. I saw every time you waited for a message, a confirmation, a gentle gesture, a sign that you still mattered. I even saw the moments when you tried to convince yourself that you should not need that much. But I say to you, to be respected, to receive clarity, and to be loved with consistency are not excessive demands. They are the healthy environment for a soul I treasure. You need to learn to distinguish between a challenge within love and a pattern that drains you. Challenges can come in every relationship because people are still learning how to love, how to understand, and how to mature. But in a connection that carries life, challenges will lead to dialogue, humility, corrección, and deeper peace. A repeating pattern of pain, however, will make you smaller and smaller, more and more anxious, and further from yourself. One has the capacity to heal, the other only recreates the wound. By their fruits you will know them. Matthew 7:20. Do not look only at an apology if afterward the fruit is still neglect. Do not look only at sweet moments if the overall current still causes you to live in insecurity. Do not listen only to promises about the future if the present continually denies your dignity. The person I send in the right season will not make your soul live in a constant state of alarm. They may not be perfect, but they will have the honesty to learn how to love rightly. They will not use ambiguity to keep you within reach, silence to punish you, or inconsistency to make you cling more tightly. They will not need to make you doubt your worth in order to feel powerful. Love that reflects me does not rule through instability. It cares through consistency. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives. John 14:27. That peace does not mean difficulty will never come, but it means that even when difficulty appears, your soul will not be thrown into the fear of being abandoned. I want you to understand that true peace has its own tone. It is not too loud. It does not need to perform. And it does not intoxicate you until you lose your ability to discern. It is like a house with a firm foundation. You may hear the rain falling on the roof, but inside there is still shelter. A person who carries the frequency of peace I have sown within you will not force you to keep guessing. Their presence will not make you forget to pray, will not draw you away from the light, and will not make you live by confusion. They will respect the rhythm of your healing and will not pressure you to cross your boundaries in order to prove your affection. They will make you feel that truth has room to be spoken, not that only pleasant things are allowed to exist. But you must also have the courage to look at the part within you that was once drawn back toward old cycles. I do not say this to blame you, but to heal you. Perhaps there is still a child within you who once believed that love meant waiting, striving, enduring, and fighting for a little presence from people who were not willing to remain fully. Perhaps you became so used to inconsistency that when you encounter peace, it feels unfamiliar, and when you encounter chaos, you mistake it for the familiarity of love. I am changing the measuring rod within you. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. Ezekiel 36:26. That new heart will no longer call chains attachment, will no longer call hunger passion, and will no longer call being overlooked humility. So when an old pattern appears, do not be quick to blame yourself, but do not be quick to justify it either. Bring it before me. Ask, is this producing peace or fear? Is it making me grow or making me shrink? Does it honor the truth? Is it drawing me closer to me? Is it consistent with the dignity I have placed within you? Examine yourselves. Whether you are in the faith, 2 Corinthians 13:5. Self-examination in me is not looking at yourself through shame. It is allowing the light to distinguish what belongs to life from what is only a wound trying to repeat itself. My beloved child, I do not want you to beg to be loved. I do not want you to chase after a place in someone else's heart as though you had no dwelling place in me. I do not want you to wake up with the question, do I still matter today? You mattered before me, before anyone learned how to recognize it. You were loved before anyone called your name with love. You were held before any human hand ever took yours. And because you are loved in me, you do not need to accept connections that make you live like someone forgotten. Go slowly. My child, let peace be the referee. Let the fruit of time tell the truth. Let consistency have more value than brief emotional highs. Let your heart no longer run after places that keep making you feel lacking, but learn to recognize where there is life, clarity, respect, and stability. I will not leave you confused if you stay close to me. I will remind you when the old pattern returns. I will strengthen you when you need to leave what is unhealthy. I will heal the part of you that once feared leaving meant losing everything. For you do not lose love when you walk away from instability. You are moving closer to the true love I have appointed for you. And when the person for the right season comes, they will not bring a storm that you must call destiny. They will carry rooted peace, responsible clarity, respectful closeness, and love that does not require you to betray yourself. They will not be perfect, but the current between you and them will not be fed by anxiety. It will be nourished by truth, patience, prayer, maturity, and light. Trust me in this. I am not leading you out of the old cycle only to leave you in emptiness. I am leading you out so I may bring you into a wider life, where love is no longer the place where you are made small, but the place where your soul can rest, be lifted up, and be reminded that your Father has always known you were worthy of something healthier. My beloved child, let your soul settle into the stillness I am giving you. For you are not someone drifting aimlessly through life, nor are you one who is being thrown from one event to another without any hand to preserve you. You are being led within an order deeper than what your eyes can see. Every small shift within your heart, every subtle sense that causes you to pause, every person who moves away, every door that closes, every timely nearness, every quiet space where it seems as though nothing is happening, all of it is contributing to a greater work. I am reestablishing your identity in the new chapter I have prepared. You may not yet see the whole map, but I see the beginning, the middle, and the destination. The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him. Psalm 37:23. Therefore, you do not need to panic while the journey is still unfolding. What you need is to remain in my hand, for that hand has never led you down the wrong path. I want you to understand that there are seasons in your life that are not only seasons of comfort, but seasons of being named anew. There are times when I do not merely wipe away your tears, but also remove from you the names that pain once placed upon you. You were once called by your failures, by abandonment, by judgments, by the times you were overlooked, by memories that made you believe you were only someone who survived wounds. But I do not call you by the things that hurt you. I call you by what I placed within you before you even knew how to name yourself. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. When I call your name, the past no longer has the same authority to define you, because the voice of the one who created you is always deeper than the voice of the seasons that shattered you. Therefore, as I engrave your name into the future, I am opening. A quiet yet very real sign will begin to appear. The things that once had the power to make you collapse will gradually lose their weight within your heart. You will realize that the same words that once made you lose sleep now only touch you lightly and pass by. The same memory that once reopened a wound will no longer pull you back into that painful room as it once did. The same fear that once controlled the way you loved, the way you chose, the way you waited, and the way you reacted will suddenly begin to feel unfamiliar, like an old garment that no longer fits your soul. This is not because you have become cold, nor because you are denying what happened. It is because I have changed the foundation within you. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17. That newness first begins in the place no one can see, but then it will be revealed through the way you stand firm before what once caused you to fall. Do not confuse healing with forgetting. I do not heal you by wiping your memory clean as though your life had never known pain. I heal you by removing from that memory the power to rule over your soul. What happened may still be part of the story, but it is no longer the throne. It may still be remembered, but it is no longer permitted to command your future. Just as the people of Israel once passed through the Red Sea, when the waters had been a wall before them and the enemy had been pursuing them from behind, when I opened the way, the very place that seemed like an ending became a passage, and what once threatened to swallow them was left behind. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Exodus 14:13. So it is with you as well. There are memories that once pursued you like an old army, but I am placing a sea of separation between you and their power. I am changing the spiritual space within you. Before, darkness could touch familiar weak places, the fear of being abandoned, the need to be proven, the habit of blaming yourself, the feeling that you are not enough, the sensitivity to judgment, or the pain of being forgotten. But as I heal those places, the old strategies can no longer find a place to cling to. Darkness is not stronger than light. It only operates where light has not yet been invited in. When I shine into those hidden depths, it is not that you must strain to drive the darkness away, but that the darkness loses its ground on its own. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. Understand this deeply. Your victory will not always look like a loud battle. Sometimes victory is when the old thing calls your name, but something within you no longer answers. You may be surprised to see yourself responding differently. A person who once made you tremble no longer causes your heart to shrink. A circumstance that once triggered panic now makes you able to breathe, pray, and wait in peace. A silence that once made you think you had been abandoned now only reminds you to return to me instead of chasing after another person's confirmation. That is the sign of an inner restructuring. I am teaching your inner system to function according to truth, not according to wounds, according to peace, not according to old reflexes, according to the identity I have given you, not according to the words people once threw at you. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds Philippians 4:7. That peace does not merely comfort you, it guards the door of your heart so that the old thing cannot casually walk back in and reclaim the place it has lost. Remember Gideon, the man who once hid in the winepress because he feared the enemy and saw himself through the small lens of his circumstances. But when I came to him, I did not call him according to his fear. I called him a mighty man of valor. Judges 6:12. My word went ahead of his feelings. The identity I gave him went ahead of the outward evidence. Gideon had not yet seen himself as strong, but I had already called forth what I had placed within him. My beloved child, I am doing the same with you. You may still be learning how to believe that you are different, but I have already called you out of the old name. I do not call you abandoned, too sensitive, a failure, not enough, or someone who must always beg for love. I call you beloved, restored, kept, and one who is stepping into a new chapter with a soul that is being rebuilt. Therefore, do not be quick to measure your process only by how much has changed outwardly. There are things outside you that are still waiting for the right time. But within you, the foundation has already been reset. A restored house does not begin with new curtains, but with a strengthened foundation. A garden coming back to life does not begin with flowers blooming before the eye, but with roots finding the underground stream again. I am doing the same within you. I am not only changing your circumstances, I am changing where you stand within those circumstances. I am not only changing the people around you, I am changing the way you allow others to define you. I am not only removing a few pains from you, I am changing the power that pain once had over your decisions. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. Ezekiel 36:26. That new heart is the sign that the new future will no longer be built on the old foundation. My beloved child, be at peace, not because everything has already been completed before your eyes, but because everything is being arranged precisely in my hand. The things that leave are not always losses, many times. They are the clearing of space. The things that are delayed are not always refusals, many times. They are preparation. The things that no longer hurt you as they once did are not hardness of heart. They are evidence that I have touched the place that used to bleed. The things that once frightened you, now becoming unfamiliar, does not mean you are drifting away from yourself. It means you are returning to the true self I created before fear came in. The old things have passed away is not merely a beautiful sentence. It is a declaration of my authority over every part of your life that darkness once occupied. There will come a time when I call your name in a new space, before new doors, among new people, in a season you once did not dare believe you could enter. And when that day comes, you will look back on today's very small steps with grateful eyes. You will understand why I closed certain paths, why I made you more sensitive to certain signs, why I caused old things to lose their sweetness, and why I taught you not to respond the way you once did. No detail is wasted when it rests in my redeeming hand. All things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. I do not call all things pleasant, but I have the authority to make all things serve your growth, healing, and new identity. So keep your heart truly still. My child, do not be afraid when you no longer resemble the person you used to be. Do not grieve the fears that were once familiar simply because they stayed with you for many years. Do not return to old rooms merely because the new future is still only beginning to open. I am engraving your name into a chapter that the old darkness has no right to continue writing. I am building within you a foundation of peace that judgment cannot easily pierce. Memories can no longer easily trigger, and fear can no longer easily control. Walk slowly but firmly. Believe that I am going before you, and when you arrive at the place I have prepared, you will realize that from beginning to end, from tears to peace, from brokenness to restoration, from the old name to the new identity, You were never once outside the guiding hand of your Father. My beloved child, listen to me with a truly quiet heart. I do not wait for the world around you to become perfect before I allow you to step into what I have ordained. I do not wait for everyone to understand you, for every door to open at once, for every wound to disappear from memory, or for every circumstance to become favorable before I call you forward. I often do something deeper than that. I change your inner position first, so that you can stand in the middle of a world that has not yet changed and still no longer be ruled by that world. When the foundation within you has been reset by me, the old voices may still sound, but they are no longer the authority over your identity. Old environments may still exist, but they can no longer hold your soul as they once did. Old judgments may still try to find a way to touch you, but they no longer have the same place to cling to, because I have moved you out of their sphere of influence. He brought me up out of the pit of destruction, out of the miry clay. He set my feet upon a rock and made my steps secure. Psalm 42. Do you see? I do not merely pull you out of the old place. I set your feet upon a new foundation. Therefore, do not measure your progress only by how much the outside has changed. There are seasons when the outside still looks like yesterday, but inwardly, you are no longer the person you were yesterday. The same words that once made you tremble no longer have enough strength to pull you down. The same silence that once made you panic now only reminds you to return to me. The same environment that once made you shrink now begins to reveal its narrowness, not because you have become proud, but because I have made your soul larger than the mold that once confined it. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. John 8:36. That freedom does not always begin with the outward door opening immediately. Many times, it begins when the chains within lose their power to make you believe you are still imprisoned. I want you to understand that the process of transition does not always come like a trumpet sounding on a mountain, nor does it always appear through an event that makes everyone around you recognize it. Sometimes it begins with a very small awakening within your heart, a sense that you can no longer live the way you used to, a holy weariness toward the cycles that once fed lack, a thin yet persistent light shining upon the things you once called normal. That is why I teach you. Watch, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. Matthew 25:13. To be watchful is not only to wait for a great moment to arrive. To be watchful is to keep your soul in a state of readiness, so that when I begin to shift the current, you will not fall asleep in old habits, cling to what is out of season, or miss the call simply because it comes in silence. You will recognize the transition not only by life changing suddenly, but by the fact that you no longer belong to the noises that once defined you. The praise that once made you dependent is no longer your source of life. The criticism that once pierced deeply no longer determines your worth. The conversations that once pulled you into comparison begin to lose their sweetness. The places where you once felt you had to strive in order to be accepted no longer feel like home. This is not cold distance, nor is it a loss of gratitude for the past. This is the quiet separation of the spirit, where I loosen every cord that tied you to sources of affirmation that no longer have the authority to nourish your soul. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. When your mind is renewed, you do not merely think differently, you begin to belong to a different rhythm. Some connections will loosen without you needing to create conflict. Some environments will become too narrow without you needing to despise them. Some habits will lose their attraction without you needing to fight loudly. Some old desires will fall from your hands like leaves falling in their proper season, not because they were once meaningless, but because they no longer carry life for your new chapter. Do not panic when this happens. I am rearranging the spiritual weight within your life. What is too heavy for you to fly with will no longer be able to remain on your shoulders. What only holds you back but does not lift you up will begin to lose its right to stay. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Hebrews 12:1. There are burdens that do not look like chains, because they are disguised as familiarity, but I know what is slowing your steps. Remember Abraham, when I called him to leave his country, his relatives, and his father's house, and go to the land I would show him. I did not give him the entire map from the beginning. I only called him out of the old system before revealing the destination in full. Go from your country, your kindred, and your father's house to the land that I will show you. Genesis 12:1. That call was not only a geographical movement, it was a separation from old definitions, old limitations, and old ways of belonging. If Abraham had clung only to what was familiar, he would not have stepped into the greater promise. My beloved child, there are also times when I call you out of places that once gave you a sense of safety, but are no longer wide enough for what I am forming. I do not separate you in order to make you empty. I separate you in order to place you into a deeper covenant with my calling. I know that in this process, you may feel as though you are losing certain things. Some people no longer understand you the way they once did. Some conversations no longer touch you the way they once did. Some goals no longer make you come alive the way they once did. Some paths that once seemed clear may suddenly appear dim, but discerned by peace, not by fear. Sometimes what you call loss is actually removal. Sometimes what you call loneliness is actually the space I create so that my voice may become clearer. Sometimes what you call separation is actually liberation from false anchors. A bird cannot fly if it still believes that the old branch is the only place where it can be safe. I am not breaking your wings. I am teaching you to leave the branch that has gone out of season and enter the sky I have opened. When I prepare to lift someone, I do not allow that person to remain forever anchored to systems that make the soul heavier. I may allow them to love the people within those systems, to pray for them, and to be grateful for what they have learned. But I will not allow a new identity to be imprisoned in an old mold. Joseph had to leave his father's house, even though that road was painful and filled with tears, before he could be placed in a position to save many people. Moses had to leave the palace and pass through the wilderness before he was sent back with new authority. David was anointed while he was still in the fields, but he did not step directly onto the throne the next day. He had to pass through seasons of being misunderstood, hunted, and separated from easy recognition, so that the throne would not swallow his soul. I do not waste seasons of separation. I use them to purify motives, deepen roots, and cause the one I have called to no longer depend on the old system to know who they are. My beloved child, what I have spoken over you is not merely a promise hanging far ahead of you. It is becoming reality in the way you exist each day. Every time you no longer respond to judgment the way you once did, the promise is taking shape. Every time you choose peace instead of reaction, the promise is taking shape. Every time you walk away from lack without condemning yourself, the promise is taking shape. Every time you allow something that no longer belongs to you to fall away without running after it to pick it back up, the promise is taking shape. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1:6. I did not begin something within you only to abandon it halfway. What I began in the hidden place will one day be revealed in the light. Do not be afraid when you no longer belong to the things that once held you in an old season. There are garments that once fit you, but now have become too tight because you have grown. There are rooms that once sheltered you from the rain, but now no longer have enough air for your soul to breathe. There are roles that once helped you survive, but now no longer fit the person I am raising within you. You do not need to despise the old in order to step into the new. You only need to recognize when grace has shifted. The people of Israel could not live forever on the manna of the wilderness once they had entered the promised land. There came a time when the old provision stopped because I was teaching them to receive a new form of supply. The manna ceased, and they ate the produce of the land of Canaan. Joshua 5:12. What stops does not mean I have stopped caring. It means the way I care for you has moved into another season. So keep your heart watchful and tender. Do not cling to something only because it is familiar. Do not resist separation only because it feels unfamiliar. Do not call liberation a loss when I am removing unnecessary weight from you. Let me loosen the wrong ties. Fade the old attractions. Clarify the environments that no longer fit. And bring you into alignment with the new chapter. When something from me truly belongs to you, you will not need to lose your soul in order to keep it. When something no longer belongs to you, you will not need to hate it in order to release it. You only need to trust that your Father knows how to arrange all things according to the right rhythm. I am calling you back to the eternal calling, the calling that is deeper than every outward voice. You are no longer the one defined by what others misunderstood, by what the past distorted, or by what old environments allowed or denied. You are the one I am establishing. You are the one I am renewing. You are the one I am bringing out of false anchors, so that you may stand within the sphere of light's influence. Walk slowly, but firmly, without haste, without fear, and without turning back simply because the empty space feels unfamiliar. I am in that empty space. I am in that separation. I am in every subtle change that you do not yet know how to name. And when the fullness of time comes, you will look back and understand that every departure, every loss of attraction, every door that no longer opened, every conversation that gradually loosened, every day you felt you no longer fit what was old, all of it was not chaos. It was my order, working quietly. It was the way I made you lighter so I could lift you. It was the way I called you by your future, not by your old wounds. So be at peace. My beloved child, I am not waiting for the world to change before I fulfill your destiny. I am changing you right in the midst of that world, so that when the door of the new chapter opens, you will not enter as one still bound by yesterday, but as one who has been set free, named, prepared, and guided by the loving hand of your Father. My beloved child, when the things that once felt familiar begin to feel too narrow, do not be quick to see it as a sign of error or loss. There are places that have not changed, but you have changed. There are paths that remain the same, but your steps now carry a new rhythm. There are environments that once gave you a sense of safety, but now make your soul feel confined, not because they have suddenly become evil, but because they no longer correspond to the width I am opening within you. Like shoes from a former season, they may still be intact, but your feet have grown. If you force yourself into them, the pain does not prove that you are wrong, but that you have outgrown the old size. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I thought as a child. I reasoned as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. 1 Corinthians 13:11. There are things that must be left behind, not because they were meaningless, but because you have been called to step into another level of maturity. I am not calling you into a life of clinging. I am calling you into freedom. Clinging often disguises itself as loyalty, but if what you are holding no longer carries my breath, the more you hold on, the more weary you will become. You may try to revive a rhythm that is past, try to prolong a connection that is out of season, or try to force open a door upon which I no longer breathe. But your soul will recognize the exhaustion, not because I am punishing you, but because you are placing your strength where grace has shifted. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. John 8:36. Your freedom is not found in gripping tightly every familiar thing, but in being placed in the right position, the right season, and the right rhythm with what I am doing. Understand this: releasing something in me is not failure. There are things you release not because you are weak, but because you have matured enough not to turn familiarity into chains. There are things you leave not because you are ungrateful, but because you recognize they no longer serve the life I am building within you. There are people, places, habits, and desires that played a role along one part of the journey. But not everything that once walked with you is appointed to enter the next chapter with you. When I withdraw my breath from something, I am not taking away what belongs to you. I am only removing what no longer has the strength to lift you. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Job 1:21. Even what is taken away in my hand can be a form of care. I want to give you a spiritual strategy for entering the chapter upon which I have engraved your name. That strategy does not begin with the haste of the mind, but with the stillness of the soul. You will not enter the new thing through the fear of being left behind, nor through the rush to prove that you are ready. You will enter through deep watchfulness, through a heart that knows how to listen, and through discernment that has been forged in quiet seasons. Be still, and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. This stillness is not passivity, nor is it standing still because of fear. It is the posture of a soul that knows its Father is leading, and therefore does not need to rush forward in panic or turn backward in insecurity. In this new chapter, you will not be led by temporary excitement. Excitement can come quickly and leave quickly. It can make you think that every door shining before you is my invitation. But discernment goes deeper. It does not only ask whether this is attractive, it asks whether this carries life. It does not only look at outward convenience, it listens for inward peace. It is not merely swept away by opportunity, but weighs whether that opportunity draws you closer to me or pulls you away from my voice. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Colossians 3:15. Let that peace be the referee, because there are things that are very brilliant but are not for you, and there are things that are very gentle yet are the door I have opened. Remember the people of Israel as they followed the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire in the wilderness. They were not permitted to move simply because they were impatient, nor were they to remain simply because they were afraid. When the cloud lifted, they moved. When the cloud stayed, they stayed. Sometimes they camped for a long time, and sometimes only for a short time. But the rhythm of movement was not based on human restlessness. It was based on my presence. When the cloud was taken up from above the tabernacle, the children of Israel would go onward. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not journey. Exodus 40:36-37. My beloved child, this is the strategy for your new chapter. Do not move only because opportunity pressures you, and do not stay only because habit holds you back. Move when my presence lifts you, and pause when my peace tells you to wait. You do not need to chase what belongs to you and me as though it could be stolen by your slowness. What I have appointed for you will not require you to betray your soul in order to catch up with it. The one led by me is not the one always trying to outrun fear, but the one placed in the right place at the right time by my faithful hand. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37:23. An ordered step is not always a large step. Sometimes it is a step back from what no longer fits. A slower step so you can hear more clearly. A silent step so you do not speak out of reaction. Or a releasing step so your hands are empty enough to receive what I am arranging. There will be times when you feel as though you are standing between two seasons. Behind you is what is familiar but too narrow, and ahead of you is what is new but not yet fully visible. It is precisely in that in-between place that many people turn back because of fear. They would rather live in an old garment even if it makes it hard to breathe. Then step into a wider space without yet knowing how to move there. But I say to you, do not fear what is not yet clear. What is unclear in my hand is not an abyss. It is a hallway of transition. It is the place where I teach you not to equate safety with familiarity, and not to mistake newness for danger. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously to all. James 1:5. When you are unsure, ask me. When you waver, return to my word. When you feel your heart being pulled between the old and the new, let me separate what is fear from what is guidance. I am teaching you to walk by the sensitivity of the soul, but that sensitivity must be anchored in my word, not in unstable emotions. You are not called to run after every feeling, nor are you called to ignore every inner sense. You are called to bring everything into my presence, where emotions are quieted, motives are brought into the light, and peace is confirmed. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105. That lamp will not always show you the entire new chapter at once, but it will give enough light for the next step. And in my kingdom, the one who is faithful with the next step will not be left wandering away from the long road. Look at Elisha when he was called. He was plowing with oxen, living within a familiar rhythm, doing work that had structure, repetition, and stability. But when Elijah threw his cloak upon him, a transition began. Elisha could not continue clinging to the old field as the source of his life's definition, while also stepping fully into the new ministry. He slaughtered the pair of oxen, used the plowing equipment as firewood, fed the people, then rose and followed Elijah. 1 Kings 19:21. Do you see? There are times when I call a person to leave behind the tools of a former season, not because the former season is contemptible, but because a new mark has been placed upon them. Not everyone will understand that act, but the one who has been called will know when the mantle has touched their life. My beloved child, there will also be things I ask you not to carry with you anymore. It may be the habit of proving yourself. It may be the need for everyone to understand you. It may be a connection that always makes you smaller. It may be an old way of reacting, an old way of defending yourself, or an old way of seeking safety. When I call you to move, I do not want you dragging along the full weight of your old life and then wondering why your steps feel heavy. No one puts new wine into old wineskins. Mark 2:22. New wine needs new wineskins. A new chapter needs new capacity. A new identity needs new habits, new boundaries, new obedience, and a deeper level of trust. Therefore, your strategy is this: listen before you step, release before you grasp, wait before you announce, pray before you decide, and let peace confirm what emotion has only begun to suggest. Do not allow another person's haste to become your rhythm. Do not allow delay to make you doubt my calling. Do not allow familiarity to convince you that confinement is safety. Do not allow the fear of loss to make you keep what I have already brought out of season. When something no longer moves in rhythm with the life I have placed within you, bow your head in gratitude for the lesson it once carried, and then let it remain where it belongs. I am bringing you into the right current, not by force, but by divine arrangement. You will see that what is right will not require you to shatter your soul in order to enter it. You will see that the right person will not demand that you betray the light in order to be close. You will see that the right door will not require you to chase it in panic. You will see that the right chapter will not force you to return to an old version of yourself in order to be accepted. What belongs to me will carry responsibility, but also grace. It will carry invitation, but not suffocation. It will carry growth, but not self-loss. It may carry challenge, but it will not sever your deepest peace. So woke, my child, slowly yet firmly, quietly yet brightly, tenderly yet not weakly, watchfully yet without anxiety. Do not force yourself into shoes that have become too tight simply because you were once able to walk in them. Do not call exhaustion loyalty when I am calling you into freedom. Do not fear releasing what no longer serves the journey. Because empty hands in me are not loss, they are preparation. I have engraved your name into the new chapter, and I will lead you into it according to my rhythm. When you need to stop, I will keep you. When you need to step, I will lift you. When you need to release, I will give you strength. When you need to receive, I will open your hands. And when you look back, you will see that the stillness you are learning today was the very strength that helped you step into tomorrow without being pulled backward by the former season. My beloved child, let your heart be truly still as you hear me speak this. You are stepping into a chapter where your name will no longer be buried beneath the voices that once made you doubt yourself. There were seasons when you lived as though you had to constantly prove that you were worthy. Explain yourself in order to be understood. Strive in order to be seen. And become strong enough, gentle enough, silent enough, and acceptable enough to have a place in someone else's heart. But I do not write your identity with the ink of human recognition. I called you before the world knew how to call your name. I saw you before you were seen. I placed a promise upon you before any memory had the chance to wound you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. Therefore, what I am opening is not an opportunity for you to prove yourself, but a space where what I have spoken over you begins to be revealed more clearly. You do not enter this chapter by temporary emotion, because emotion is like the surface of water when it meets the wind. At times it rises. At times it becomes still. At times it is clear. And at times it is stirred by things you have not yet had time to understand. I do not want you to place your entire journey upon something so changeable. I am teaching you to walk by a deeper confirmation, by peace that has been tested in the fire, by an inner knowing that does not need to be loud, but is rooted in me. The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him. Psalm 37:23. A step made firm by me is not a hurried step running from fear, nor a reactive step answering judgment. It is the step of one who has learned to stand in the light, hear the voice of their Father, and walk not in order to find worth, but because they have already been established in worth. I want you to understand that you are no longer walking in search of a place like a wanderer outside the door. The place that belongs to you in my purpose is not something you must wrestle out of another person's hand, nor is it something that disappears simply because someone fails to recognize you. Before you knew there were doors, I already knew which door had been prepared for you. Before you knew you would need strength, I had already placed grace upon that road. Before you saw a single encounter, I had already arranged hidden currents so that the right people, the right timing, the right opportunity, and the right inner preparation within you would converge. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days ordained for me, before one of them came to be. Psalm 139:16. You are not groping through uncertainty. You are stepping into what has already been seen beforehand in my heart. Perhaps you think you are searching for something, a place to belong, a clear calling, healthy recognition, the right door, a connection with a foundation, a space where your soul no longer has to shrink. But in my order, there are things that are also moving toward you, not in chaos, not with the haste of this world, but through the quiet current that I open. What belongs to you and me will not require you to lose your peace in order to chase it. It will not make you lower your dignity in order to be accepted. It will not demand that you deny my calling in order to fit into someone else's mold. When what I have appointed draws near, it will recognize the mark I have placed upon you, and you will also recognize the fragrance of my peace upon it. I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. Revelation 3:8. The door I open does not need to be broken down by panic. It will open according to the rhythm I have appointed. My beloved child, this is the season when identity is no longer only something you hold privately in prayer, but begins to become something revealed through the way you live, the way you respond, the way you choose, and the way you no longer return to old molds. I am bringing you out of the season of ambiguity, where you continually asked who you were under the gaze of others, and into a season of establishment, where the light within you no longer asks darkness for permission to shine. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. Darkness may once have covered part of your story, but it does not have the authority to write the ending. The things that once caused you to be hidden may still exist in memory, but they are no longer allowed to define your position in the future I am building. Remember David. When Samuel came to Jesse's house to anoint the king I had chosen, David's brothers stood before Samuel, appearing more suitable in the eyes of people, while David was outside in the field with the sheep, overlooked during the most important meeting of his own life. But I do not forget the one I have called. I said to Samuel, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. And when David was called in, the oil was poured upon his head in the midst of his brothers. Do you see? What belonged to David was not lost simply because others did not think of him. The anointing did not hide from him. It waited for the appointed time to call him out of the place where he had been overlooked. So it is with you. There are parts of your life that others once failed to see, but I have not missed a single one. When the time comes, what I have written will know how to find you where you stand. Therefore, do not be confused if the new chapter begins with a change in the way you are present. You will no longer feel the need to ask permission to live according to the light I have placed within you. You will become less shaken by those who do not understand your process. You will stop trying to enter rooms where you must lose your peace in order to be accepted. You will recognize that not every rejection is a loss. Sometimes it is positioning. Not every delay is forgetfulness. Sometimes it is alignment. Not everyone leaving is evidence that you lack value. Sometimes it is the clearing of the way for what can see you rightly. All things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. I have the authority to use even the things you once did not understand to serve the work of establishing you in the light. You do not need to exaggerate yourself, nor do you need to diminish yourself. You only need to stand rightly in what I have spoken. Identity that comes from me does not need noise in order to carry authority. A lamp does not need to argue with darkness. It only needs to be lit. A city set on a hill does not need to ask the valley for permission to be seen. It only needs to stand where it has been placed. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. I do not say this so that you may become proud, but so that you will stop burying what I have placed within you out of fear of being misunderstood. When the light comes from me, true humility is not hiding it, but allowing it to shine in the right way, for the right purpose, and with the right love. I know there have been memories that once made you hesitate when you were about to step into something new. They whispered that you might be overlooked again, abandoned again, misunderstood again, fail again, or not be enough again. But listen to me more clearly than those voices. Memory can recount what happened, but it does not have the authority to prophesy falsely over your future. Outward voices may offer opinions, but they do not sit on the throne of your identity. I am the one who called you from eternity. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you came forth from the womb, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. What I know about you is deeper than what you have endured. What I have set apart within you is stronger than the words that once tried to make you normalize your pain. So step into this season of establishment with peace and watchfulness. Do not let excitement make you rush. And do not let fear slow you down when I have already opened the way. Follow my rhythm. When I tell you to wait, wait without doubting your worth. When I tell you to step, step without needing everyone to applaud. When I tell you to release, release without calling it failure. When I bring what belongs to you near, receive it with humility, not with the fear that you will lose it. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust does not mean the absence of discernment. Trust means placing your discernment beneath my guiding hand. My beloved child, what I have spoken over you is gradually becoming reality in the way you exist each day. Every time you choose not to answer the voice that makes you smaller, the light is being revealed. Every time you stand firm in peace instead of chasing confirmation, identity is being revealed. Every time you leave what does not honor the life within you, maturity is being revealed. Every time you step through a right door without betraying your soul, my order is being revealed. This is not merely an outward change. This is the manifestation of a person whom I have renamed from within. I am not bringing you into this chapter so that you may continue living as one who has been erased. I am bringing you in so that your name may be called in the light, not through pride, but through truth. I am bringing you in so that what was once hidden may be set back into its rightful place. I am bringing you in so that you will no longer ask whether you are allowed to exist fully. You belong to me, and what belongs to me within you will not be swallowed by darkness. Keep your heart still, your eyes clear, and your steps steady. What belongs to you is not hiding from you in chaos. It is being arranged by me to converge at the appointed time. And when it comes, you will recognize it not because it overwhelms you, but because it harmonizes with the life I placed within you from the beginning, like a promise finally finding its form on the day I have ordained.